Hey, welcome to Spiritual Direction and Soul Co. Welcome to 2023 Sunday Live. We're back after a couple weeks off. I hope you had an awesome holiday season and a time of refreshment and rejoicing and celebration and rest. We went to Florida and had a great time, did all the things we love to do. And it's so good to be back together as we get into the final stretch of this long series we've been doing called Holy Humanity, the 12 dimensions of the human soul, looking at 10 different experiences that are kind of core experiences of the human spiritual journey. So I'm really excited today to get back into Sunday Live and be together and to just reconnect with what really matters as we start the new year. And I hope it's been going well for you. Let me know how 2023 is going so far in the chat, whether you're watching on the replay or the broadcast. And just let me know how you're doing and how things are going. As we get ready to get back in, let's start with our grounding exercises, the gift of breath and stillness. Breath and stillness. These are our most basic spiritual practices, just as a way to kind of like prepare the soil of our hearts and minds to think about what we're going to be thinking about today, talk about, reflect on the idea of liberation, freedom, um, release, becoming. Let's see how that goes. So let's do a grounding exercise. And as we ground, let's just take a deep breath. Sitting with our spines tall and straight. Breathe in and out and in and out. And just come to a place of rest. Maybe like me, you're going into a holiday weekend. It's an MLK weekend. Maybe you have tomorrow off. Maybe you're thinking about all the things that you think you should do on a day off since you have time. But maybe in this moment, we should just let that go. No should do's, no have to's. Just be here present in this moment. Breathing. And continue to breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Just focus on your breath, the rise and fall, and be here in this moment. Don't worry about anything else. I invite you to become aware of your surroundings as you breathe. Maybe the hum of the refrigerator, rustling of leaves outside your window, the bright sunlight. And just be here, giving yourselves the gift of this moment. And now, slowly open your eyes and set your intention to be ready to think and reflect and to feel as we explore liberation today. So, as I said, we've been talking about holy humanity, these 10 different dimensions of the human soul. These really are basic experiences of the spiritual life. And we've explored 6 experiences so far. They are longing, looking, home, the experience of love, the experience of more, that we're fullness, being fully alive to something, and the experience of mystery. And so today we're going to look at liberation. Liberation. What thoughts come to mind when you hear this word? Liberation. What thoughts come to mind? What do you think those are about for you? And what feelings rise up in you when you hear the word liberation? What feelings do you feel? Liberation. What do you think those feelings are about for you? Thoughts and feelings. It's important to notice how our bodies respond to certain words, certain concepts, certain experiences, certain memories. What do they tell you about where you're at, what you care about, what's your deepest held values? Liberation. How do you respond to the word liberation? In my work, I work every day with palliative care patients. And we often talk about liberating someone from their ventilator because it's clear that the person has come to the end of their life. And so we're liberating them from life prolonging interventions that we know aren't helping anymore. And we know that if they stay there in place, they'll actually do more harm. When we think about the idea of liberation, it's not simply about freedom or allowing movement. Liberation isn't just allowing the fullness of oneself to unfold so that you can be all that you can be or are meant to be. Liberation, it's also about leaving something behind. Liberation is also about letting go. Liberation is about releasing ourselves from what doesn't work anymore. It's about letting others do the same. There are ideas, concerns, fears, worries, attitudes, mindsets that whenever that you have, that always when they come in contact with the reality of your life, they always create tension, frustration, fear, worry, then maybe you shouldn't hold on to those values, attitudes, mindsets, beliefs, because you're actually harming yourself by holding on. Right? So liberation is often about releasing from something, letting go of something, releasing ourselves from what doesn't work anymore or what creates suffering, right? And it's about letting others do the same and helping others do the same. This is the pathway to healing and deep inner peace. When we realize that our reactions to things and sometimes our deepest held beliefs are actually responsible for the suffering we hold and that we experience, right? Sometimes life is hard and things are hurtful, but then our reactions and the things we assume about how things should work or who people should be or how they should act or how our lives should, that dangerous word, should be, the suffering that rises out of the conflict that rises when we don't have those things, when those things aren't happening that way, that's our suffering that we've created for ourselves. So you can let go of those assumptions. That's the secret power of liberation, is there's a lot of pain and hurt that you don't have to add to. And a lot of liberation is unwinding, doing the work of unwinding the beliefs and assumptions and mindsets and attitudes that you've been told you have to have or ought to have, right? That actually cause or add on to suffering. So when we release ourselves, this becomes, that work of release is the pathway to healing. It's the pathway to deep inner peace. It's how we take responsibility for ourselves. You're not supposed to take responsibility for anybody else. You're supposed to take responsibility first for yourself. So what do you need to release yourself from? Maybe put it in the chat. What do you need to release yourself from? If you were free, whatever that means to you, if you were free, what would you do? And if you were free, whatever that means to you, what would you leave behind? See, liberation is really at the heart of the famous prayer of St. Francis. And maybe you're already familiar with this prayer, but let me read it to you again, or maybe for the first time. It goes like this. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is offense, let me bring pardon. Where there is discord, let me bring unity. Where there is error, let me bring truth. Where there is doubt, let me bring faith. Where there is despair, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, let me bring your light. Where there is sadness, let me bring joy. O divine Master, let me not seek as much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that one receives, it is in self-forgetting that one finds, it is in pardoning that one is pardoned, it is in dying that one is raised to eternal life. This prayer is really a call for wholeness. It's a cry for wholeness, and it's a yearning, an expression of a desire to be also an agent of wholeness, a bringer of wholeness, of healing. And that's what liberation looks like when it's arrived, is wholeness, healing. And the prayer begins with a big vision, right? Let me be an instrument of your peace, but then it ends with the way. It ends with the way to that vision. It ends with the method to deep inner peace. It ends with the program for liberation. The how. Listen to it again. O divine Master, let me not seek so much to be consoled as to console, or to be understood as to understand. Let me not seek as much to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that one receives, it is in self-forgetting that one finds, it is in pardoning that one is pardoned, it is in dying that one is raised to eternal life. So let's just talk a little bit about these phrases. And what we'll discover is just the way of St. Francis to liberation, to this experience of liberation, of wholeness. He starts with the phrase, let me not seek so much to be consoled as to console. No one over a lifetime escapes moments of loss. No one escapes the experience of loss. Loss can then threaten our ability and our will to go on. Loss can shake the foundation of our sense of meaning and our sense of where we get our sense of self from, right? We lose someone we love, someone who has given shape or meaning to our lives, or we lose our health, or maybe you struggle with mental illness. And some of us have lost our desire to live at times, right? People have hurt us deeply. These are all forms of loss. And so we look for someone to console us, to comfort us, to soothe us, to offer peace to us. And most of all, we look for someone to restore hope to us in the middle of our pain. Because really the greatest loss is when we are experiencing the loss of hope. And the greatest gift then would be the restoration of hope. We seek to be consoled. And that's normal and that's not wrong. What Francis is saying, though, is that the path to consolation is to console. To have hope, we give the gift of hope when no other gift is enough, to share the hope that is in us with someone who is in the danger of losing it. We may not think we have any to give, and yet there's always some to give. There's always someone that we can do the work of comfort to, even if it's small, even if it's just saying hello to someone in the grocery store, even if it's holding the door for the person who's got their hands full of packages as they're trying to get inside a building, or whatever it is. Hope, that deep connection that comes when we just offer comfort and help and aid to someone. Hope is the greatest of divine gifts that is within you and me, and it comes through when we help others, when we console others. That sense, this gift is that sense that there's a tomorrow worth living for, and that the pain that we feel today is not all there is. So to grasp this within ourselves, we give it. We release it to others. And that's how it grows in us. Maybe you have an experience like that, where in the midst of pain and hurt and confusion, instead of falling inward, you decide to step outward and give. Go do something to help someone else. And you found that your own hope was slowly coming alive within you. The next phrase is to be understood. To be understood as to understand. So here we see that there's no more effective way out of our loneliness. There's no more effective way out of our loneliness than simply letting others know that they are not alone. We can say, I understand, right? I understand is what we say, and hope that somehow that simple phrase is going to bridge the distance between us, right? I have a colleague who came and helped a person who was brought to the hospital, who watched her whole family be murdered in front of her. And my colleague walked into the room and into the emergency room and said, hello, my name is, I'm a chaplain, and I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. See, that seeking to connect for the one who is hurting and alone and isolated. Now, if by understand what we mean is comprehension, right? We don't really understand at all, because we know we can't actually enter into the soul of another person, into the experience of another person. No two people have ever experienced their lives or their world or the most significant moments, even if they're sharing them, right, in exactly the same way. So what we mean when we seek to understand, what we mean is that we're reaching out in empathy. We're saying, I am here. I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm here, and I'm in this with you. You are not alone, is what we're saying. And when we say you are not alone, suddenly we realize that neither are we. The next phrase is, it is in giving that one receives. Now, to accept this word, that it is better to give than to receive, means that we have to break with kind of the deepest held values of our culture and our assumptions. It's to to work toward giving rather than receiving means that we are liberating ourselves from the idea that we must possess things, that we need to possess things because what we have is what we are. And so to pursue giving rather than receiving, to liberate ourselves into this space means letting go of the messaging that's around us and the assumptions of our culture. Our giving liberates us in the giving. It converts the very center of our lives from a posture of taking and expecting to receive toward an outward movement. It's in giving that we then can grasp a true experience of responsibility to transform ourselves, and to transform ourselves away from consumption, to transform ourselves away from accumulation, and to move toward creativity and generosity. So it's in giving that we let that part of us that believes that with just a little bit more, we'll finally be content. No, but it's in sharing even the little that we have that we come to know the joy of letting go, which is liberation. It's literally liberation. When you let go, you're literally giving away. You're making room. You're making space. This is liberation. The next phrase is, in pardoning, one is pardoned. Now, all of us generally assume that forgiveness should flow very easily toward us, yes? And on one level, sure. But forgiveness comes much too slowly to our hearts. And I know there's layers to forgiveness and complexity, but here I'm just really focusing on the part of forgiveness as just another word for letting go, right? Letting go. Forgiveness is an expression of liberation. Many of us cling to our favorite hurts because it's a way to center ourselves, because we feel insignificant most of the time, right? But unforgiveness simply chains us to people and situations that we need to leave behind for our own sake. So in pardoning, one is pardon. It's that giving rather than receive, right? To find when we pardon, when we release, when we let go, we find that we have been released, right? That we have been released from our suffering, that we have been released from our disappointments, that we have been released from our expectations, that we are now free and open for fullness. We are free and open to what we truly want. We are free and open to new possibilities. We are liberated. And then the last phrase is, it is in dying that one is raised to eternal life. A new life, a full life. Awaken to your deepest self. Awaken to others. To be fully alive. That's what the spiritual journey is all about. So dying to the old life, the old stories, the should do's and have to's that were pressed on you by your family or your community or your church or whoever, right? And discovering new language, new stories, new ways of living. That's the whole purpose of our time here. It's growing, it's becoming. But it means holding loosely, even to our present lives and our present attitudes. Some part of us has to die if we're going to live. And the part of us that must go will not be some extra thing that you could just easily and joyfully do without. That's not growth. That's not transformation. It's certainly going to be something that you're clinging to with all your energy because you've come to believe that that is the source of your happiness outside of you. And in that, when we do that, what we're doing is we're abdicating our responsibility to ourselves. We're abdicating our responsibility for our own growth, our responsibility to find the eternal gift of life and fullness within us. So we have to die to all the peoples and things and beliefs that we use from the outside to validate our existence. So to die to this means to stop giving power to others, to stop waiting for others to certify our choices, to stop waiting for others to validate us, to stop needing outside approval. Liberation means honoring your inner witness that thing deep within, deep in your bones that says, I know this is me. I know these are my greatest joys. I know this is what I bring, right? It's the inner witness is never telling you anything about anyone outside of you. Your inner witness is speaking to you and what you value, who you're meant to be. So like liberation means honoring that part of you that's seeking to express the unique self that you were created to be, and to let go of, to die to being dependent on these outside things that we think is the source of our happiness. Like, think of all the things that make you joyful. Think of all the things that give you life. Well, what is it really about? What's really underneath it, right? Like, I love eating great meals with great people and having great conversation. Well, is it the meal? Is it the thing outside? Or is it the thing within me that loves to connect, right? And to relish life, the life that I'm living, the people that I love the most, right? See, learning to really dig into what gives us our joy and what that really means. And when we activate that around us, what is that, right? All of this is the pathway of St. Francis to liberation. And we could, spend hours talking about each one of these phrases. But I wonder which one really stands out for you. Which one do you resonate with? Which one do you feel a sense of resistance or ambivalence about? Which one do you go, man, I really want that, right? I really want to have a posture of seeking to understand, not to be understood, right? And by that meaning, being a person who is present to others. I want to be an empathetic, loving human being who is there with people so that people know that they are never alone, right? Or maybe it's giving, it's in giving that one receives, that maybe there's this part that's like, man, I just want to do more for others. I want to be able to open myself more to giving to others because there are so many around us who just need that, right? Whatever it is, right? Which ones stand out to you? I encourage you to spend time with that. Reflect on where you may be being called to grow. Or to just, instead of reflecting, go do it. Some of you know which ones of these or all of these that you need to step into. Just go do it. Maybe you're ready. Maybe it's not time to reflect or think anymore. Maybe it's time to act and take responsibility for yourself in that. You can do it. You're not alone in it, because this is the journey we're all on. This is a core experience of our holy humanity. I want to end with a blessing from John O'Donohue again. This is called For Freedom. And this is for you. As a bird soars high in the free holding of the wind, clear of the certainty of the ground, opening the imagination of wind, into the grace of emptiness, may your life awaken to the call of its freedom. As the ocean absolves itself of the expectation of land, approaching only in the form of waves that fill and please and fall with such gradual elegance as to make of the limit a song, a threshold whose music echoes back along the give and strain of memory. Thus may your heart know the patience that can draw infinity from limitations. And as the embrace of the earth welcomes all who call death, taking deep into itself the tight solitude of a seed, allowing it time to shed the grip of a former form and give way to a deeper generosity that will one day send it forth, a tree into springtime. May all that holds you fall from its hungry ledge into the generative surge of your heart. Amen. Amen. Liberation, liberation, the way of St. Francis in his prayer. It is liberation. It is a letting go. It is a letting go. Lisa says, I love the idea of liberation as letting go. Jill says, me too, me too, me too. So often we think of liberation, like I said, in these other ways, but it has to first start with a release, right? It's the releasing of yourself to truly be yourself. And it's the releasing of others so that others can truly be themselves. You know, it's that cliche, you know, if you love something, let it go, right? Well, if you love yourself, let it go. Let all the accumulated stuff go. Let it go, right? All the expectations, let it go. The stories that you were told about who you are and how things should be, let it go. Let it go. And open yourself to the new. And be that space-making, permission-giving self. Be that person, right? And you'll discover that you will receive it as you give it. Have a great week, Spiritual Direction Soul Care. It's good to be back. It's good to be back together. Can't wait to see you again. We have a couple more sessions on Holy Humanity, and then we'll be talking more about what's coming up next. I hope you're all doing well. Terry, it's so good to see you with us today. Reach out, let us know how you've been, and soul care sessions are always available. So message me on the Facebook page and invite a friend to come join us and spend time with us on the broadcast or the replay. Have a great rest of the week.